I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's G, it's DMC, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels. And I'm here with the Battleground pay-per-view review for 2017. And, you know, I try really hard, guys, to be a positive person. I try really hard to look at the good things in professional wrestling because it seems like most of the time it's nothing but negativity, especially when it comes to WWE pay-per-views. Now, usually SmackDown gets a little more, a little bit more praise because SmackDown has been pretty good for the last year and a half. It's been definitely going downhill ever since the Superstar shakeup. But man, this pay-per-view was boring. It was nice. I remember I was catching myself like falling asleep, right? And it was like 9 p.m. Now, I'm the type of guy that stays up to like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning every day. And I'm almost falling asleep, and that's not a good thing. I'm on my phone. I did my outline like I normally do, and I usually, type in, what the match is, who wins, and that's usually pretty much all I really put there, unless there's like some important spots that I don't want to forget about. I did the first two. Well, I did the pre-show, and then I did up to Corbin versus Shinsuke, and I forgot to type the rest of it out. So some of this is going to be out of order, so I apologize for that. I think I got the match order right. I don't really remember. If some of them might be mixed around. Just bear with me. I know it's not that big of a deal, but to me it kind of is. But I just didn't want to go back and rewatch some of the pay-per-view just so I can get the match order right. If I'm being honest, I just didn't want to do it. Pre-show match. The first two matches are actually not too bad. I watched the pre-show match, which was Ty Dillinger versus Aiden English, and I thought it was an okay match. I thought it was nothing special, and it was a pre-show match. Aiden English won, which was a surprise, maybe to some, a nice surprise. He won with a full Nelson facebuster. I don't know what he's going to call that, if he calls it anything. Maybe call it the curtain call, even though that's a move already, but it kind of fits his character. I don't know what he would call it, but decent match. Like I said, it wasn't terrible. It was a pre-show match. There was a commercial between, in the middle of the match, which always kind of takes me out of it a little bit, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was an okay match, and I thought, okay, this is starting off pretty decent. We got a surprise win here from Aiden English. I thought, of course, Ty was going to win. I think most people did, because he's won all his matches against Aiden English. But you know what? If they're going to continue this feud, because it doesn't look like they have anything else for either of these guys, why not? Why not? And then we had the first match of the night. I actually missed this. I went ate dinner. I came back right when the Shinsuke and Corbin match was on the verge of the end. But I've gone back and watched this match. It was a really good match. Usos versus the New Day. Easily match of the night. One hell of a match. Great false finishes. That super kick spot was too sweet. Great match. These guys have great chemistry, and I mentioned this in my predictions. I said these guys have been tearing the house down in all their matches, and I expected it here, and they delivered. And had I watched this match before coming back and just being blasted with such boring matches, maybe my excitement would have been a little bit higher. I don't know. I've seen some other people talk about this pay-per-view, and they'd watched the whole thing through, and their excitement died as well. So maybe not. But the match was good. This match was really good. So far, we have two positive things out of the show. I thought the Aiden English versus Ty Dillinger match was okay. And then this tag team title match was pretty good. Now, I went back and watched Corbin versus Shinsuke. This match was just boring. Nothing special. Corbin lost via a dick kick to Shinsuke. Kind of a boring finish. I guess they wanted to protect Shinsuke, and they wanted to keep Corbin looking strong. After the match, Corbin attacked Shinsuke. I don't know if their feud's over. It looked like to me that we were going to get Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles for the United States title at SummerSlam. They teased it when Shinsuke and AJ were about to tag on SmackDown. They were talking about their plan or whatever, and Shinsuke was just distracted. He was looking at the U.S. title. He pointed to the U.S. title and said he's coming for it, and he walked out. AJ Styles had this nice smirk on his face. We're not going to get that now, it doesn't look like, unless AJ Styles wins it back at another house show or another SmackDown. I don't know. The U.S. title, that is, and we'll talk about that match in a minute, but kind of disappointing. But so we might see Shinsuke versus Corbin again, and probably a pre-show match, because SummerSlam is going to be pretty a pretty big card. It usually is. And there's gonna be a lot of title matches. There's gonna be a lot of bigger matches. And I don't know if a Shinsuke versus Corbin match makes the card. You know, that's just me being honest. And I love Shinsuke. Shinsuke is one of my favorites. Was my favorite New Japan Pro Wrestling when I first started watching. I was immediately hooked on this guy. This guy's great wrestling, great character, great charisma. But he wins via dick kick from Corbin. What are they doing with this guy? What are they doing with Shinsuke? I don't know. It kind of sucks. You know, they haven't lost it yet, but it's getting to the point where it's starting to look pretty grim for Shinsuke Nakamura. Anyways, we had the women's match. It was Tamina, Lana, Becky, Charlotte, and Natalya. And that was the order of eliminations, which is why I said it that way. Tamina got eliminated first, then Lana. Becky eliminated both of them, making her look fairly strong. Then she got eliminated by, I believe, Natalya, and then Natalya ends up beating Charlotte. Kind of a shocker here for me. I seen the betting odds after I did my predictions video because in one of my Discord chats that I'm in, someone posted all of them. And they were all right but one match, and that's the U.S. title match. But they thought Natalya was going to win. I didn't think there was any way. If I was on the outside looking in, I had no outside knowledge from somebody that she was going to win, I never would have guessed it in a million years. I'm not against it. I like Natalya just fine. This match was, again, it was a boring match. Shinsuke vs. Corbin was boring, and this match was also boring. It was a long process to get to the first elimination, and when the first elimination happened, it was like bam, 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 which is never fun for me. It just, because these kind of matches, you either get like a bunch, you get a bunch of early eliminations out of the way, or they're all in succession. I like to spread them out a little bit, so it's not so predictable. I don't know. That's just me personally, but I just didn't really like this match. I'm happy Natalya won. That's fine. I mean, it's better than Tamina or Lana winning. You know, that's one way of looking at it. And Natalya versus Naomi could have a decent match, but the problem is, you know, Natalya really hasn't been hot at all as far as, like, what has she done on SmackDown lately? You know, she hasn't been on top. She was part of the welcoming committee, which lasted all but 2 weeks. They didn't really stick to that, and they immediately got rid of it with no, like, segment of breakup. It just kind of just happened. You know, all of a sudden you guys are in this ladder match. Okay, we hate each other now. It was just weird. But Natalya won. I'm fine with the win. I just thought the match kind of sucked. I expected a little bit more from these women. We had 2 good Money in the Bank matches for most of these women, all but Lana was in that match. Of course, Carmella was at it instead of Lana. Carmella is a better wrestler than Lana, but not by a huge margin. So I can't really say it's all Lana's fault, although she looked terrible in this match. Not physically. I mean, physically she looks fine, but like as far as like actual work rate, her kicks look shitty. She's just bad, man. She's really bad. You know, I've seen some people arguing on Facebook, not really arguing, but kind of saying, who do you think's better, Eva Marie or Lana? And honestly, they're both bad. Next match, AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens. Another kind of dull match. It started off hot, and then it went to Chinlock City and rest holds, and then the match just ended weird. AJ Styles went for the Styles Clash. Kevin Owens picked him up, threw him into the ref, which was kind of okay. But then, you know, AJ Styles locks in these submissions. You know, Kevin Owens does not tap out, which I'm fine with. I've seen that some people had some issue with that. You know, make AJ look strong by him, you know, tapping out with the referee's back, and it still makes AJ look strong. And then the ending was weird because the referee was dazed and confused and went to count, and it was just awkward. I don't know. It was just an awkward ending. I'm fine with finishes like this, and these are the pay-per-views to do it on. But why so many? You know, like we had the finish with Corbin and Shinsuke, and then we had this finish here. We had a bunch of weird stuff happen in Sami Zayn versus Mike Kanellis' match, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then, of course, we had the stuff that happened in the Jinder and Orton match, even though it's an ODQ match, but there was a lot of stuff happening. You know, whatever happened to just a good old-fashioned wrestling match? That's what the Usos and New Day had, and it was awesome. Why can't we stick to that? You know, why do we got to make things so convoluted and it's overdone? Everything is so overdone. Count-out finishes from a hill. We had that last week, or last pay-per-view with Usos and New Day to continue the feud. Why do we have to do this every single match? Why can't they just lose, want a rematch, earn the rematch, and just get the rematch? Why can't we just have good wrestling matches? I think that we're in a weird spot right now in WWE specifically, where they have all these great workers, man, and they hire all these great workers from the indies and stuff. The problem is they're great workers. They're not great sports entertainers, right? And I love all these guys. Cesaro's great. You know, I always bring up Cesaro because I think that he's lacking something as far as promo ability, but the guy can wrestle anybody and make them look like $1,000,000. The guy's great. You know, all these guys are great. Mike Kanellis is good. Sami Zayn is good. AJ Styles amazing. Kevin Owens amazing. Now those two specifically can, you know, be very entertaining on the mic, and they have been in the past. You know, but guys like Shinsuke shouldn't be talking at all on promos. He doesn't need to talk. The guy does all his talking in the ring. You know, people who loved Shinsuke Nakamura, he never really cut a promo, and when he did, it was in Japanese, and we didn't know what the fuck he was saying, and we didn't care. People don't really care about that stuff, and WWE needs to get away from that. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. You have all these great workers, use them to their full potential. Have good wrestling matches. Why are we doing fuck finishes like this every single pay-per-view? To continue the feud, but you can do so much more to continue the feud. You know, if we had Shinsuke versus Baron Corbin, right? We'll go back to that for a second, and I'll get off this rant here in a second, I promise. But if we had Corbin versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Shinsuke won with the Kinshasa. He won fair and square, 1, 2, 3. Shinsuke looks great in winning. He celebrates after the match. Corbin attacks Shinsuke, gets his heat back, and if they wanted to continue the feud, they could do it that way. We have a good wrestling match. Corbin still looks strong. Shinsuke still looks strong, but instead you just make them seem like afterthoughts because nobody gives a shit. You know, he lost by low blow, great, and then he attacked Shinsuke afterwards. Cool. Right? I don't care about that. It's stupid. You know, and again, with the Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, just have Kevin Owens win clean. We all know he's a good wrestler, and any day that these guys are just having a good wrestling match, Kevin Owens should and could be able to beat AJ Styles fair and square. You don't have to knock a referee down. And if you knock the referee down, do a little bit more. You know, the finish was weird, and it could have been just so much more. It could have been so much more. I don't have a huge issue with the way the women... I just thought the pacing was weird on the women's match, and I'm fine with Natalya winning, honestly, but I'm still not a fan of the match itself. Anyways, moving forward, we'll talk a little bit more about the show. We had Sami Zayn versus Mike Kanellis. Fine match. It was okay. A lot of spots with Maria involved, which who didn't see that coming. But what I didn't see coming was Sami Zayn actually winning the match, which he was odds-on favorite, you know, in the betting odds, like I mentioned. Now, I didn't mention this, but AJ Styles was the odds-on favorite to win, but obviously he lost. So they were wrong on one match. You know, so you can't use the betting odds all the time, but they seem to work most of the time, which kind of sucks. I wish that wasn't the case. But Sami Zayn won the match. He won a match on a pay-per-view. Mike Kanellis' first pay-per-view match, his second match on the since coming to the main roster. Or he's never been on NXT either, so it just his second match period in WWE's system. Decent match. It wasn't terrible. It was nothing too insulting. Maria got involved a lot, but again, that was expected. It's fine. And honestly, Mike Kanellis and the Maria package, what they got going on, started to grow on me a little bit. You know, I take back what I said. You know, when I said they cucked Mike out. I just thought it was funny the way that the way he debuted. But they stuck to that, and it's working. I think it's great. It's entertaining. It's kind of funny to see Mike just literally bow down to Marie. He's wearing pictures of her on his trunks. I just think it's funny. I think it's great. I'm enjoying their package deal. And like I said, this match was okay. It was probably one of the better matches on the show. You know, and it really wasn't that exciting, but it was one of the better matches on the show. Cena versus Rusev. Ooh, this is about the time where I started falling asleep. Now, I don't have an issue with them doing, you know, matches with stipulations. I really don't. You know, sometimes stipulations are fun and can be good. Flag match idea was just too terrible. And then you had, right afterwards, you had the Punjabi prison match, which is also just a weird match with weird, not necessarily weird stipulations, but you have these weird rules within the match. So as far as like the Cena versus Rusev match goes, you have to take your flag, which they started with the flag, their respective flags behind them already. It should have been on the opposite sides of the ring, in my opinion, because then you have to fight through the other guy to get to your flag. I thought that was just kind of a misstep right off the bat. And then you have to grab your flag. You have to take your flag to the top of the ramp and place it in the hole. But what that does is it sets this weird pacing up, because now you go through this whole match and they're trying to fight for the flag, which is fine. If that was what the match was and they were fighting, you know, kind of like a game of capture the flag or something, That could be kind of fun, but it's what happens after they get the flag that's the issue, because then you have to walk up the ramp, and while you're slowly, and they are slowly walking up the ramp, waiting for the other guy to attack them. The other guy attacks them, rinse and repeat for 20, 25 minutes. Now you're at the flagpole area. Now you can finally put your flag in the stand and win the match. There was a point in the match where Rusev had the flag. Cena was nowhere to be seen, and he's slowly walking up the steps. Not like he's even in pain, just lazily walking up the stairs. Holds the flag up, and you know it's coming a mile away. You see Cena even set up in the spot as this is going on. Goes to put the flag down as slow as possible. Cena stops it. It was just silly. It's just a dumb match. I don't like it. The pacing was off. I mean, both guys look like shit. Cena's better than that. Rusev is better than that. They should have just had a one-on-one match. If you wanted a stipulation, man, do something where there's got to be a lot more aggression. There's got to be a little bit more, a feeling that something's at stake. Even though this is supposed to be like a country's pride versus another country's pride match, I never felt the intensity of that. I never felt like someone was fighting for their life. It felt like a lazy match. So wasn't a fan. Probably one of the worst matches of the night. Probably, actually, you know what? Probably the worst match. And we'll grade these matches afterwards. I haven't even typed it down as grade, so I'm going to have to do it on the spot, but bad match. Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal. At this point, I was just done. I was ready for the pay-per-view to be over. And this match, Cena versus Rusev, was way too long for what it was. This match was also really long. But I try to be fair, and I thought that this match was okay. It wasn't a bad match. A lot of action, a lot of hard-hitting action. Randy Orton was bleeding out of his arm. They had kendo sticks. These guys they try to put on a show. The problem is, though, I did not have any interest in this match before the show even started. Right, and that's a booking thing. That's these guys not being too exciting. I think Jinder and Orton are both incredibly boring in the ring and outside the ring, and that's a problem. That is a problem. Now, I did say, actually my SmackDown audio got messed up, so never mind, but I did say this when I did record my SmackDown review that never made it because the audio was all messed up. There was a lot of popping from a microphone and all kinds of weird shit. But Randy Orton, he cut a really good promo on SmackDown, I thought, at least for an Orton promo. He had a lot of fire. You could tell that he was trying to get this match over, but it was a little too late, in my opinion. They didn't have enough time to really build this Punjabi prison match. They didn't do a lot to build it, in my opinion, either. This was like the one segment they really did anything with, the Punjabi prison match, and I still wasn't excited for it. The last two matches they had before this really sucked. They ended exactly the same way. Orton dropping the Singh brothers on the outside, runs into the ring and gets hit with the Colossus. It's just stupid. So they have this pretty brawly match. There's a lot of brawling, a lot of, they did a lot of work in this match. I don't like the idea of the cage doors. You have 60 seconds to open up the cage door. That stuff to me is just stupid. In my opinion, just have the first cage like a regular cage. You have one door. You can climb the cage or leave out the door, which even then is kind of silly because then why logic dictates why don't they just always go out the door? Save energy, right? So maybe get rid of the doors entirely. They have to climb out the cage and make it to the next set of cages. Because what you can do is you can have Orton, hit the RKO or whatever, climb out the cage, the first cage, and it looks like he's about to win. Singh Brothers comes out like they did, attack Orton, right? Beat up Orton. Jinder finally gets up, gets out of the cage, and then they start that next segment of the match and in between the two cages. I don't know. I think that they could do a little more with it. It's a weird match anyways. I don't have an issue with the prison match as an idea because I think those kind of matches can be cool, but I think there's just too many rules. Having a minute per door and the the announcers doing the match and they're just taking so much time to explain the rules of the match. And I could already just tell that people are just lost in the crowd at this point. Halfway through the explaining the match. You have to go through one door to da and this and that, and then I'm just like, oh my god. Can we make things a little more simple? Wrestling doesn't have to be so complicated. It really doesn't. Wrestling has always worked on one concept alone, right? It's a competition between two guys. One guy wants to win. Or not one guy. Both guys want to win. The better man wins the match, right? Pretty standard. And then you add storylines in with that, and you can make it a little bit more interesting. But you don't have to make things so complicated. You really don't. Anyways, going on with this match. So the match keeps going on there. They're battling each other. Orton is getting ready to climb out the cage. Jinder Mahal's music hits. They should have just given him his own music because he has his own music. Great Khali comes down, and as soon as that music hit, I knew it had to be Khali. There's really no one else it could really be besides maybe Daivari, the original Daivari, not Arya Daivari. Is it Sean Daivari? Why do I think it's Sean Daivari? Am I right in saying that? Anyways, Great Khali comes out. Looks better than I thought he would look. Doesn't look great, but he looks better than I thought he would. Moved around a lot better than I thought he would. He kind of climbs up the cage a bit, chokes Randy Orton, chokes the life out of him. And while this is happening, Jinder Mahal starts climbing the cage, and he just looks at Orton as he's climbing up the cage, and just big, shit-eating grin on his face. Climbs up the cage, wins the match. Crowd did not care about this match. In fact, the crowd, and they're in Philadelphia. This is a big wrestling town. This is a big wrestling city, I should say. This is the birthplace of ECW. And there was one spot, I didn't mention this, but there was a spot during Cena versus Rusev where there was tables. When they pulled tables out, they started chanting ECW, or at least some of them did. They didn't even have the energy to really boost Cena or even just do the "let's go Cena, Cena sucks" thing. Like, they were just, at this point, just like all of us, most of us, I don't want to say all of us because I don't want to speak for everybody. They were just done with the show, man. It was terrible. It was such a boring show. I don't know how, I don't know why. But like I said, I literally, and this is no exaggeration, I'm like sitting there just like, man, I'm really tired. And I look at the time and it's like 9 o'clock. I felt like it was like 11 o'clock at this point. I'm like, it's only 9 o'clock. And I look at, I'm watching it on my TV and I'm like, oh my God. I just couldn't watch it, guys. Like, I feel bad because, again, I try to be positive. There's a lot of guys on SmackDown that I like. AJ Styles, probably my favorite wrestler today right now, as far as like current day active wrestlers, probably AJ Styles. A close second would probably be Omega. Big Omega fan. Shinsuke's up there. Braun Strowman is up there. I can make a top 5 list for you. Maybe I'll do that in the near future. I'll do a top 5 of my, or top 10 even. 10 of my favorite current day wrestlers and wrestlers of all time. One thing I was going to do when I made this channel, I was going to do a weekly top 10 list of things that I, specific, and I still might do that. I talked about it when I first started making videos on this specific channel. I might do that still, but at the same time, I don't know yet. I mean, we'll see. And it's all opinion based, but those are just guys that entertain me the most. And I love AJ Styles. The guy deserves so much more right now. The guy was the guy last year. The guy who was the most entertaining, put on the best matches. That was him last year. This year, besides the match with Shane McMahon, he's had some good matches, but he should definitely be in the title picture. And I think he will be. I think he's next. I talked about this in my Battleground predictions. I thought for sure Jinder would retain, which he did. I think at SummerSlam, now I've seen some rumors, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I thought at SummerSlam we'd see Jinder versus Cena. Cena beats Rusev, and I think they're done. I don't think they need to do another match. You could have Jinder versus Cena at SummerSlam. You could tease this being John Cena's 17th title win, which is kind of a big deal. It would make this match seem somewhat important. You can have Jinder Mahal win, right? You can have Cena take a break or whatever he's doing. He's doing a lot of stuff outside of WWE. Let him go do that or do something else. AJ Styles will then come in, win the WWE title, and then you have Baron Corbin cash in immediately after AJ Styles wins to put a lot of feet on Baron Corbin. Because if Baron Corbin cashes in on Randy Orton, if he cashes in on Jinder Mahal especially, cashes in on John Cena, he's going to get cheered. And that's not what you want with Baron Corbin. That's not what you want. The guy is a heel. You don't want him cheered, okay? You do not want him cheered. And I don't think it'd be an overwhelming cheering because people don't like Baron Corbin because he's kind of boring. I like Baron Corbin enough. I'm not a huge Corbin fan. And I mentioned earlier I have a top, my top 10. He wouldn't be in my top 20, but I still like the guy. I kind of see where they're coming from with him. I kind of see why they think, he's kind of a big deal. I can kind of see them why they want to make him a big deal. I can see it, but he's still not the most entertaining guy in the world. I'm willing and able to admit that. But yeah, Corbin's fine. Corbin wins the WWE title from AJ Styles, and then you have a program out of there. You can do a triple threat match. You can then do a one-on-one match with AJ Styles and this guy, Baron Corbin, and you can keep going forward. And then eventually, we have AJ Styles win the title back. Then we can have John Cena versus AJ Styles at Mania. AJ Styles turns heel, wins the 17th title belt by turning heel on AJ Styles. That's my booking plan. But anyways, The show itself was really boring. Overall grade of the show, D. It was a D. It was a 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10. No, you know what? 3 out of 10. It was a 3 out of 10, and probably deserves an F grade, honestly. But if it wasn't for the Usos versus New Day match, it probably would be an F graded show. It was definitely one of the worst shows of the year, arguably the worst show of the year. I know Fastlane was one that people decided. I liked Fastlane personally. I thought it was fine. If I had to compare this, because people like to compare Raw and SmackDown a lot, I try to keep that in mind. I try to do that as well. If I had to compare this to Great Balls of Fire, Great Balls of Fire hit this one out of the park. It wasn't even a contest. Stop the damn match. SmackDown has a family, damn it. The Raw pay-per-view brutalized this pay-per-view show. I mean, people may not have liked, that I almost call him Samoa Joe. Why? Why did I say that? Samoa Joe lost, in like 5 minutes to an F5, one F5. But I still thought, he looked like $1 million. I loved the Roman Reigns and Strowman stuff. Although they didn't really do the double turn, I was kind of hoping, but I enjoyed that stuff. Really, and I didn't even mention this really. The Breezango segment. Probably besides the New Day versus match, is probably the best part of the show. I love Breezango, and I thought the segment was great. They started off, back where we ended, that whole alien shtick. And essentially comes up to some casual and is like, hey, we did it. We crashed your office. And they kind of looked at each other like, oh, it was you guys? Huh. Well, that's kind of anticlimactic. And honestly, I almost believed it for a second. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, I feel like at this point they're just trolling us because this whole show has been anticlimactic. And then they turn into and they're like, wait, no, you weren't. You weren't even here last week. You were at that show. You had two tickets to Paradise. And they're like, no, we didn't go to that show. We didn't go to that show. And then they showed him the severed horse head, and they started feeling ill to their stomach. They're gonna start throwing up. I thought it was pretty funny. Then they got attacked afterwards. They didn't show who attacked them. My money's still on Luke Harper and Eric Rowan or Sanity. Those are my two guesses. Let's talk about some rumors real quick. And then we'll grade these matches individually, and we'll leave here. You guys already know that I didn't like this show. But there's a rumor currently going around, and it's not a very reputable rumor, so take it as a rumor, because that's what it is. Most of these rumors are. Randy Orton and a teammate of his choice versus Jinder Mahal and the Great Khali in a tag team match, Holla Holla, at SummerSlam. Not a WWE title match, but a tag team match. Jinder Mahal and Great Khali versus Randy Orton and a partner of his choosing. My guess would be John Cena. Is that something you guys would want to see? Of course it's not. I don't think there's a single living, breathing human that can honestly say, if you see that on a SummerSlam card, where potentially you have a fatal 4-way match for the Universal title. We don't know this for sure yet, and we'll probably find out a little bit more tonight on Raw. But we have a potential Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Samoa Joe Universal title match. Pretty good match. We have a potential fatal 4-way tag team title match. The Revival, The Club, The Hardy Boys, Cesaro and Sheamus. Pretty good tag team title match. We're probably, more than likely, and by probably I mean we'll definitely will, New Day versus Usos, a rematch. Gonna be a really good match. Possibly AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens U.S. title match. Maybe a multi-man U.S. title match. Who's to say? Pretty good match. Maybe. I don't know, because this match kind of sucked, honestly. Hopefully it's a good match. Has potential to be a good match. Let's put it that way. Okay, pretty solid match. Natalya versus Naomi, probably going to be, and I hate to say this, probably going to be a filler match between two bigger matches. Not a very exciting match on paper, but could be worse. Could be Lana versus Naomi again. Raw Women's title, we could possibly see a Fatal 4-Way match. I know so many multi-person matches, especially for the Raw side of things. Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Nia Jax. Although, on Raw we're going to see Bayley versus Sasha, I fully expect to see Nia Jax get involved in that match, possibly set up a Fatal 4-Way match at SummerSlam. And if that's the case, potential to be a pretty decent match. Better than the Naomi and Natalya match on paper. Doesn't mean it will be, but on paper. Intercontinental title match. Is it going to be The Miz versus Dean Ambrose, part 1700 and 532? I don't know. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's a little bit more than that. I wouldn't mind seeing The Miz, I don't know, defend the Intercontinental title against Finn Balor. Maybe Seth Rollins. Maybe against Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose in a triple threat match. Because now we're having a handicap match. 3 versus 2. Miz and the Mr. Raj versus Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Maybe the Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose getting a little bit of a squabble. And we set up a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. Maybe Seth Rollins wins it. And then we have ourselves a feud between Dean and Seth. Hasn't been done in a little while. I wouldn't mind it. Better than the Miz versus Dean again, right? So there's potential for some good matches at SummerSlam. With all those in mind, would Randy Orton and a teammate of his choosing, whoever that might be, and you can give him anybody as a teammate, versus Jinder Mahal and the Great Khali, does that sound like an exciting match to you? Not to me. Not to me at all. I really hope that's not the case. If it is, it's probably going to be John Cena. John Cena gets the pin on Jinder in the tag team match. Sets up a WWE title match for the pay-per-view after SummerSlam, which I don't know what it is. Don't know what it's called. Survivor Series will be coming up November-ish. It's usually around November. It's usually around Thanksgiving. It's always been the tradition. Let's talk about these matches. So, I always keep the pre-show on its own. I don't put that in the grading system to my favorite, least favorite, whatever. I didn't give these stars yet, so let's... least favorite match tonight was Cena versus Rusev. I give it a 1 star, and I think that's pretty generous. You know what? No, half a star. It gets half a star. I'm not going to do negative stars. I'm not going to give it 0 stars. I'm going to give it half a star. Really bad match. Pacing of it was really bad. The action of it was really bad. It literally was putting me to sleep. And I know I'm not the only person that thought that. Really bad match. Worst match of the night, in my honest opinion. I honestly thought Ty Dillinger and English was a better match than this. I didn't think Aiden English versus Ty was a bad match, but I just think it was a pre-show match. Definitely a better match than this one, though. Next match would probably be Shinsuke versus Corbin. Sad to say. I'll give it 1 star. Just because I like Shinsuke and I wanted him to win. He did win. Via a dick kick, which is always bullshit. Bad match. Really bad match. Really, 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 really bad match. Man. Okay, so next match. Probably the women's match. The pacing, again, was really weird. It was off. I didn't like all the immediate eliminations, although I did like the fact that they let Becky get 2 eliminations, keeping her looking somewhat credible. Natty wins was fine. I wasn't upset at it. 1.5 stars. I feel like I'm just going up a half a star for every match. It's not going to be the case, but that would be the next match. Then I guess AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens, and I really hate to say that. I hate to say that I'm going to rate a Jinder Mahal Randy Orton match over an AJ Styles and Kevin Owens match. I hate to say that, but I got to be fair. Again, I'm going to say 1.5, maybe 1 3/4 star. It was a really bad pacing match. I hated the ending. That's really sad to say. Oh my god. Okay. Next, what does that leave me? Sami Zayn and Mike Kanellis. Yeah, I'll put them next, but I'm going to give them 2.5. 2.5 stars. It was an average match. It wasn't a bad match. And if this show was much better than it was, this definitely would be higher on my favorite list of matches, but just compared to the other matches, though, this one looks so much better just because it was an actual wrestling match. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. The pacing was fine. Maria got involved where I thought she needed to get involved in. You know, it wasn't unnecessary. Sami won a match, which was nice. It was a nice little surprise. I'm gonna give this 2.5 stars. Average match. I think that's fair. Orton versus Jinder would be my second favorite match of the night, even with the Great Khali and the Singh brothers getting involved. That aside, I thought these guys put on a hell of a fight. They really tried. I felt the effort from these guys. I really did. I wasn't interested in this match beforehand. Didn't really care for the match after the show was over. I thought it was boring still, and I don't know how much of that was just because the whole show was boring. I don't know. I can't say for sure. I can't say if this card was an awesome card and every match was just blowing me away, one barn burner after another. If this match would have come on, if I would have just been like, fuck yeah, dude, this was a one hell of a fight, I really don't know. I'm going to give it 3 stars. It was above average. It was definitely above average. These guys tried. Definitely Jinder's best match to date, which doesn't say a lot, but it's definitely his best match up to date. Not Orin's best match, but the best Punjabi prison match. There's only been 3, and the other 2 are really bad. Great colleague getting involved. I'm not solely against it. I don't know if this means he's actually going to be wrestling on the shows now. This was just a one-time deal. I don't know if he's just going to be like the bodyguard of Jinder Mahal now, like a Diesel. They got themselves quite the Indian faction. They need to get themselves a female representative as well, I think. Maybe Aaliyah from NXT. I wouldn't be against that. I don't know if she has it in her to be a nasty heel, though, and I don't really know of any other woman I could put in that role, you know. But I thought that this match was okay. It was better than average, like I said. I enjoyed some of the action in the match. It was too long of a match, I thought. I don't like the rules of a Punjabi prison match, but that aside, I thought these guys put in a lot of effort, something I can't say about a lot of these other matches. You know, a lot of people blame booking a lot of the times, and it should be blamed, especially for this show. But it's not always the blame. You know, sometimes you got to put some of the weight on the talent's shoulders, you know, as far as like promos go. Even though they're written lines, they're the ones delivering it, right? They gotta take some credit for it. That's just the way it is, in my opinion. As far as wrestling matches go, yeah, they put the match together with an agent, but it's still them putting the match on. You know, it's them still trying to make things look credible. It's still them trying to make the match look good, and I just didn't see that tonight. Of course, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. Maybe I was a little unfair to that match, but I was really disappointed. Maybe that's part of me thinking this match was going to be one hell of a match. And my expectations were so high for that match, and it did not go anywhere near my expectations, so I graded so low. Maybe I'm being unfair to that match. Maybe. But these are just my opinions. And, of course, your opinions may differ. Let's talk about the tag team match. So I'm going to give that one a 4-star. I thought it was a good match. Way above average. I thought they put on one hell of a match. You know what? Scratch that. 4.5 stars. I don't want to just hand 5-star matches out to people because I wasn't super invested because I thought the outcome was pretty predictable as far as like the New Day winning, and I wasn't like super invested in like an awesome story. But the match itself was awesome, especially compared to the other matches. I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars just because the timing of that super kick was just so clutch. They were on point, man. New Day and Usos were on point, honestly. If they would have put this match in the middle of the card, I don't know how different my opinion would be. Would it have made the show more exciting because this match was awesome, or would people just not be as invested in the match because of how boring the rest of the show was? I don't know. Who's to say? But they started off really good. This show was looking really promising after this match. It's just a damn shame, you know, how bad it went. Man, I love wrestling. And they probably have never had, and this is arguable, they probably never had, on both rosters combined, better workers than they have now, as far as the amount of how many they had. I had someone on a Facebook group ask the question, if Bret Hart were to show up at his prime, right, in the WWE today, how well do you think he would do? Now, Bret Hart is one of the greatest of all times in the ring. Outside the ring, not so much, right? Just my opinion. I don't think his promos were ever that great. I don't think he had a whole lot of charisma as far as like, you know, outside the ring stuff goes. His matches were awesome though. To me, he would be no different than a spot that a Cesaro would be in. Cesaro's a great wrestler too. Just can't really cut a good promo. You know, I would love to see a Cesaro versus Bret Hart match. I would love to see Bret Hart versus a lot of these guys. It would be a good technical match. But that's not the focus of WWE. It never has been. Never will be. And that's something they need to focus a little more on. You got these guys, and that's what they're That's what they're there for. These guys are workers. These guys are guys that are going to put on good matches. Focus on that. That's what New Japan does. That's why it's so popular within the wrestling community. That's what we want to see. We want to see good wrestling. We don't want to see bullshit finishes like a dick kick. And that's not like heel heat either. It's not like... This isn't one of those instances for me where I watch a show and it's like, oh, you kicked him in the dick and attacked him afterwards. You're such a mean person, Baron Corbin. No, I just thought the match was boring. And I was falling asleep. And honestly, I wanted to turn my TV off. And that's not a good reaction you want to something. I'm all for hating somebody for being a shithead, although usually it makes me laugh, admittedly. Whenever Kevin Owens does something heely and it's great, I laugh at it. I think it's great. I think it's good stuff. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe people like me are like me in that regard, and that's why heels get over and baby faces don't. I don't know. But sometimes when heels do things, like even when Roman Reigns does something, like I'm not a huge Reigns fan, but I'm not really against him either, though. And he may be on my top 10. I don't know. I have to do a top 10 of my current favorite wrestlers today on it wouldn't be my all-time favorite top 10 as far as like guys outside of WWE included, but if it was just WWE guys, maybe he would be, because I get a kick whenever they book him into weird positions where he shouldn't be booked in. Like, for instance, when he was booked at the Royal Rumble and came out at number 30, I literally died of laughter because I absolutely knew what the reaction would be when that happened, after it happened, and I was so right. Everyone was so mad. People were even saying the show sucked because he came out at number 30. He didn't win the match. And like I said then, I'll say it now, it was all designed to take all the heat off Randy Orton when he won the Royal Rumble, because nobody wanted to see Randy Orton win the Royal Rumble. And I didn't. We didn't, but he did. And Roman Reigns took the heat for it. Just the way it was. It worked that way. It worked okay. But man, I don't know what's going on with SmackDown, guys. There was another rumor that there's going to be a shakeup after SummerSlam. I hope not. We just had a shakeup, and it didn't help. We had so many storylines that were going on at the time, and some interesting ones too. Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton was just starting to heat up. That feud was well done, I thought. The whole Randy Orton part of the Wyatt family. We finally got the turn we've been waiting for. They won the tag team titles together, which was really cool. Randy Orton burns this dude's house down, right, with Sister Abigail's ashes in it or whatever it was. They were on course to a pretty decent feud. And at first I didn't care about the feud, and I didn't care for it for a while, but it started to get good. And as soon as it started to get good, they break these guys up. They put one-on-one show, and they keep Randy Orton on SmackDown. Then they have the House of Horrors match, which felt weird. It wasn't even funny it felt like the Hardy stuff, but not nearly as good, right? Like the Broken Hardy stuff. It could have been better. Man, they just really messed everything up. The SmackDown Women's Division was so much better than Raw's. And I feel like part of it was just because SmackDown's getting so much praise, they wanted to spread the love around. And now they didn't spread the love, they spread the hate around. And now people just hate both shows. Good job. So if we do another shakeup, who knows what happens? Like, if what we're going to do, move everyone from SmackDown that's good to Raw, and just have SmackDown going back to being just a B show and a show that nobody watches, then what was the whole point of the brand split to begin with, and what was the point of the draft? If that was if you don't want to see SmackDown succeed to begin with, like, it's just stupid. Just let the show be good. Let them be different. Let SmackDown be different. That's why I was all in favor of having like the women's division on one show, tag team division on another show. We do have the cruiserweight division on Raw, but if we have different, like if the shows were somewhat different, there'd be a reason to watch both shows. Right now, I don't know if there really is a good reason to watch both shows, other than you just love wrestling. And I don't think everybody does. I think some people like Raw, and that's what they stick to. There's no reason to watch SmackDown. That's why Raw typically gets more viewers than Raw. SmackDown does. Raw gets more ratings, and not ratings, but more viewers than SmackDown does. Easy for me to say. Anyways, guys, I've talked for way too long. I did a lot of rants today, so I apologize for that. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. I do wrestling reviews. I'm doing a Raw review tonight. Hopefully Raw can save me from hating WWE this week. I thought we were on course for some good stuff. We had some great stuff the last couple of weeks from both shows. Raw's been on fire somewhat. I really enjoy the Braun Strowman Roman stuff. Samoa Joe and Brock stuff's been great. Now they're intertwining that stuff. Awesome. It feels good.
It looks good. I can't wait to see more of that. But this pay-per-view was really bad. I want to know your guys' opinion on it. Again, I try really hard to be positive, and the positives out of this were Ty Dillinger versus Aiden English was an okay match. Usos versus New Day was an awesome match. Ty Dillinger, I already said that. The Mike Kanellis and Sami Zayn match was okay. Everything else kind of sucked. I didn't watch Talking Smack afterwards. I just couldn't. I just wanted to turn my TV off, and I wanted to do anything else besides anything wrestling. So I didn't do my review afterwards. I wanted to let it settle a little bit for me. I also wanted to go back and watch the tag team title match when I was refreshed and not so down, and so bored. And I'm glad I did because the match was awesome. But anyways, guys, until next time, I am the Maverick Mark Daniels, bidding you a farewell, peace, and one love.